Welcome to the video, and today we're talking about compound interest and the effect of compound interest and why it's so incredibly powerful and incredibly important. So if that's what you're interested in, I suppose stick around. Now, if you spend any time online looking how to make money, investing and things like that, you probably will have heard people talk about the power of compounding interest. But at the same time, you might be thinking, I don't know what that means. So that's why you looked it up. Now, before we jump right into that, we have to understand that progress is not linear. And by that, I mean every time we do something, anything, whether it's investing, whether it's just working out, fitness, anything like that, progress does not follow a straight line. That's because of the compounding effect. Every time we do something, we expect to see those results every single day in that kind of linear fashion. But that's just not the reality of how things work.
It doesn't work like that.
Often it feels a bit demotivating because you're not necessarily seeing the incredible results you want to. And I'm not talking about obviously just investing, but I think just things in general that you try and do, whether you're trying to learn the piano, whether you're trying to do anything deep. But after time, the compound effect comes into play and you really start to see the difference. And you're probably thinking, Ross, what the hell has this got to do with investing in compound interest? But I'm going to tell you. Now, on this channel, the reason I started it was to track really my progress to that 100k point, as well as being able to share this journey and all of my ways of looking to how to make money and investing online as well. But why is the 100k important? Now, everyone says that the first 100k that you make or that you have invested or have in investments is the hardest part to make. And now, it's not necessarily the hardest because it's all hard, but as soon as you reach that point, that is where compound interest really starts to accelerate your growth. If we use the S&P 500 as an example and say that we're going to get a roughly 11% return per year, let's say 10% because it's easier for my brain to calculate. If you have $1,000 in that account, that 10% return will get you $100 per year, which doesn't really feel like much. And then so it's same with 10,000, we get 1,000 back, that becomes 11,000. That's a great return, but it doesn't feel like that much, and it doesn't feel like we're accelerating our progress that greatly. But as soon as we hit that 100,000, that 100,000 becomes 110,000, and that then 110,000 the year after that becomes 120,000, 2,000, 1,000, 121,000, and that then increases every year, so that starts to grow immensely.
Pretty big.
And the idea of the compounding interest is the fact that you don't take your profits back from your investments and you just leave them to grow as a lump sum. So like I said, if I made 1,000 back off my 10,000, I keep that back in and reinvest it into my investments. That means that my lump sum and my pot of investments grows, and it means that the interest on that can equally grow at the same time. So as the years and the months go on, I get a much bigger percentage back. Well, the percentage remains the same, but because of my lump sum and my reinvested interest, it means that I can get a much larger sum at the end. But the one thing you really have to consider with compound interest is time. That's exactly what it takes. A lot of people think that, well, I'm not really seeing results after 5 years, I'm not seeing results after 10, but this is where, for young people, I would really advise starting anything, even if it's just a small amount, early as possible. At 18, I would recommend trying to even just put $100 in there. That $100 over time can lead to a large amount in the future, but just for the power of compound interest over time. I am 36, so I'm getting old. So the amount of years that I have to compound from here to when I don't want to be working anymore is a lot fewer than if you're starting from 18. And this is purely because there are that many more increments of the compounding effect to take place. If it happens every year, which is obviously the return rate that you're looking for, I don't have as many of those periods like someone young does. Now let's kind of see this in practice. Imagine I had $1,000 and I want to retire in 10 years time. I mean, that would be ideal. And I'm putting $250 a month into my investments. What would that investment look like at an 11% return per year average after the 10 years. You can see here that the investment looks like this. There are $57,238, and the total interest on that is nearly half of that amount. So that's a huge amount to be earned in interest. But let's take it one step further and keep that $250 per month, but let's assume that you're 18 and you want to retire at 58, purely because it's 30 years and it's easy for my head to work out. So the only difference here is the time period. I've just added 30 years instead of 10 years. The deposits per month at 250 are exactly the same. The starting amount of $1,000 is exactly the same, and look at the difference. The total amount is $727,000. And that is purely because of time. You can see that over time, this is what happens. And of course, you have been continuing to deposit funds during that period at $250 per month. But if you look at the actual deposits in there, it's $90,000. So of interest, that is over $600,000, which is incredible. And that is the power of compounding interest over time. So one of the biggest things you have to have when you look at compound interest is a long-term view on things. You're not doing these things to get a massive return in 5 years' time. It won't work in that way. The power of the compounding effect just doesn't come into play. You still get great returns, but you have to be thinking more long-term when it comes to these sorts of returns. So if you're 18 and out there, I would 100% recommend that you start with, try and get yourself $1,000 and then try and put away $250 every single month until you are 48, is that what I said? 30 years, 80? Yes, 48, that's incredible. You'd have nearly $750,000 at the age of 48 just by putting $250 a month away into an ETF. And if you don't know what an ETF is, check out one of my links. But that is my advice to you, 18-year-olds, people. Start investing early, small bits, little bits, every single month, put it away, think long term. You will be able to retire at 48. You don't have to wait until 70. You don't need to work 7 million jobs until you die. Use the power of compounding interest and retire early. If you can put more than that away, imagine that. But this all starts with starting early. If you've got any questions about compounding interest or investing as an 18-year-old or whatever that might be, feel free to drop me a comment and like the video, because it's good if you do. It helps me a little bit, really. And also consider subscribing. I'd love to have you on board the good ship Real Talk Business. And otherwise, I will see you on the next one. Peace.